Baki's girlfriend Kozu would watch from the stands as the main event was set to get underway. Make no mistake, under normal circumstances, Kozu could deal with a lot of Baki's antics. Sure, there were some women who wouldn't like that their boyfriends were fighting Neanderthals and decided to just throw everything to the wayside in exchange for striking with fist. But Kozu loved Baki for many reasons, and she wasn't going to deny who he was or try to change him. But of course, this whole farce with this meta-human federation, some wannabe wrestling monster league created by his power-obsessed father just looking for the ultimate challenge, sounding like the cliche of whatever anime of the week was going on. Among all other things, she loved Baki and cared about him. Sure, to the fans and to the spectators, he was the Immortal Hulk. He was the world champion. He was all of these things. But to her, he was the man that she loved. And she was going to do everything in her power to be as supportive of a girlfriend as possible. Even if it meant she had to entertain this. During the weeks leading up to the training, Baki's visits to Mount Fuji for some practice would be cut short. Kozu was surprised when he came back to the home, and he had a cold. It wasn't because he was training up in the mountainside of Mount Fuji either, no. He got a cold, as he would explain, because he got into a fight with an Iceman. Kozu reminisced on the situation as Baki was curled up in a blanket eating a bowl of soup. So you're telling me that you got into a fight with an Iceman? Well, technically, yeah. He turned into a man of ice, and then he shot me with a freaking blizzard. Dude! It felt like I got hit by the express train. Baki, how do you get involved with these people? I don't know. I just went up there for some training and he said, "You're gonna scare the locals. They think that the monster that I just killed came back." And I'm like, dude, I didn't try to start any problems here. He's the one that came looking for a fight. And what did you do? Oh, I broke out and I started fighting with him. And how long did this fight last? About 4 days. Eventually, he got tired and left, and, well, man, even in my Hulk form, all that cold finally got to me. So you came powdering back home. Sorry, Baki said with a smile. Kozu, as much as she didn't like it, couldn't help it when that man flashed a smile at her. Anyway, you need to get over this head cold, and you need to study. I need to what? Kozu would place a laptop in front of him. I know that you're not going to do it, so I had to look into the people that you're fighting. You're going into a 2-on-1 handicap match. And apparently, one of your opponents, Carl Crusher Creel, the Absorbing Man, he's someone that has experience with your father. Of course, Baki would shudder at the mention of his dad. Not so much out of fear, but more so annoyance. He was someone that he didn't like to bring up unless he had to, even in his own home. Okay, what about him? Well, from what I was able to learn, he seemed to be a well-promising boxer back in the 80s. He was climbing up the ranks and doing well for himself when suddenly, and these are his words, not mine, he was cursed by a god. Loki? Yeah, right. Well, whatever happened, he was mutated, transformed into some monster-like being. Well, not physically, he was granted the powers to be able to absorb basically anything. And from then on, he became a problem. He fell out of the boxing league, became a criminal, and, well, started to become an annoyance. So much so that the U.S. government contracted your father to deal with him. And they paid a hefty price for it, too. So you're saying that my pops is the one that's responsible for getting him locked up in the raft? Mm-hmm. That's what it seems like. So am I dealing with some form of revenge here? And I doubt it. Well, if it was about revenge, I don't think he would have gone along with your father's plan of being one of your gauntlet fighters. It's not like he had much of a choice. And what about the other one? The electric monster guy. They call it Zax, Kozu would say. From what I've been able to figure out, it was never actually human to begin with. It was just a monster created in a freak accident. For some reason, Carl has been able to get it under control. Perhaps through his absorbing power, he's able to keep it from turning loose. He's essentially using it as an extra battery. So I guess that's why they're choosing to have the fight at the power plant then, huh? More than likely, it's supposed to give them the distinct advantage over you. That's what I'm worried about. That power plant produces almost 900 megatons of power. That's more than enough to be absorbed by Zax. That's just going to be absorbed by Carl. So absorbing on top of absorbing. In a sense, you could say that. I am worried, though. They picked this place for a reason. And it's never specified exactly how your father was able to beat either of them. I wouldn't worry about it too much, Baki would say as he stretched. I know what they can do. I know what I'm up against. All I gotta do is stay sharp. Nothing bad's gonna happen. I know. But I still worry, and don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. After all, they're dealing with the world champion for a reason. The day of the match had finally come as Baki would make his way to the arena, specially made and reinforced for a monster battle of this size, as Zax, the electrical monster, would appear within the arena instantly while Carl made his way walking down the ramp. The older man had seen a lot of things in his day. Of course, when he had his chance encounter with Loki, something that no one seemed to believe him on, from then on his life was never the same. Of course, he thought that he could just use it to his advantage. You know, that maybe, just maybe, he could make a difference for himself to change his life. Of course, this was the 80s and was a much different time. But to make a long story short, there was once a visit by the god of thunder himself. And, well, Loki was looking for someone to take care of him. And coming across Creel, he thought he would do the job. Well, safe to say, Creel didn't have much of a good time against the god of thunder. To make matters worse, his boxing career only plummeted when shortly after it was revealed that he was a metahuman, revealing that under his gloves he had turned his fist into concrete, and after he had killed an opponent in the ring, not only was he banned from the World Boxing Organization, but now he was branded a criminal. With nowhere else to go and needing to make use of his talents, he turned to a life of crime, and for a while, he went relatively unopposed. That was until Yujiro Hanma showed up. And make no mistake about it, Yujiro only showed up because he was being paid well and because Creel was causing so much ruckus that the government needed him dealt with. And he wanted to test his mettle. He tried his damnedest to beat him, but in the end it wasn't enough. And he lost. He was locked in the raft, and there he sat for damn near 30 years until finally the bastard that put him in there was now letting him go, but on the condition that he would have to fight his son. This was just one humiliation after the other. The only thing Creel had managed to do that was worth a damn was tame Zax. To him, it was nothing but an animal, a dumb, dull creature that had to be put into submission, and his power was capable of doing just that. So now that led them to the 2-on-1 handicap match, as now all fighters were in the ring. Of course, they had the option of going in 2-on-1, but Creel already knew what was coming from this. He immediately grabbed hold of Zax. Even Baki was starting to become a little startled by how on edge Creel was. Take it easy, old man. No need to rush things. You go calling me old, kid. You don't know the half of it. I've been fighting long since before you were even thought about. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry things didn't turn out too well for you, and that you got involved in all this. I don't really care about you, kid. The only thing I care about is getting my hands on Yujiro. You think I took this fight because I want your title? No, I want your power. The only way to beat a Hulk is with another Hulk. So you're after my power, huh? Baki said with a grin. Well, that's more than fine if you think you can handle it. But I gotta ask, what the hell are you gonna do once you get your hands on it? I get my hands on your power, I take it in for myself. Then I find Yujiro and I give him what I've been waiting to give him for over 30 years now. And then I become the new big bad creature on the block. So you just want to take my father's place, huh? How unoriginal. Unoriginal. You know what it's like being crammed inside of a small-ass cell? Not seeing the sun rise for over 30 years? You know what it's like hearing that your mom died of cancer in the hospital and that you couldn't go to her own funeral? Your father took everything from me. I was on the fast track to having a good life. It was all in the palm of my hands, and then your father ruined it. And honestly, when I look at you right now, I look at his dumb, smug face. You hear that, Yujiro? I hope that there's some part in your blackened heart that cares about this little squirt. Because I'm gonna enjoy whooping his ass in front of everyone. I'm gonna enjoy taking his life piece by piece. And when I'm done with him, I'm coming for you. Yujiro would appear on the screen, rather amused at Creel's threats. Yeah, Krill, sure thing. If you can beat Baki, and that's a big if, then you're free to come after me. I'll even tell you where I'm at, and I'll make sure that I'm waiting for you. But don't keep me waiting too long. After all, I got things to do, and I've got people to see, and I've got better things to do than waste my time on some washed up has-been. You see, you like to revise history, but let me give you a little dose of the reality. You see, the reality is that you were a washed up bum that was past your prime. You think that you would have gotten that world championship if I hadn't gotten in your way? Please. You should be lucky that you got turned into a freak, because then that's the only way you could ever become any measure of a man. But no matter what you do, no matter how much you mutilate yourself, it's not going to change a damn thing. You're still not on my level. You're damn sure not on Baki's level. I just want you to toughen him up a bit. I want to give my son his own trials and tribulations in order to bring out the best in him. So in that regard, Creel, you're actually doing me a favor. Now, again, if you really think that you can win this, then I want you to. And I'll tell you where I'm at. And I'll be waiting for you. And we can have this fight. And we can settle what's been on your heart for over 30 years. But let me tell you right now. Baki is going to whoop your ass. And that's going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. Because it's saving you the embarrassment. Creel would take his ball and chain as he slung it towards the monitor, breaking it, before immediately turning back to Baki. He grabbed hold of Zax, the electrical monster, by the throat as he began absorbing his power. The referee would immediately take away the belt as the fight would get underway. The monster would shrink in size until it was almost the size of just a child, as Creel would kick him away, going back to one of the power poles all around the arena to absorb more power and get big once again. A never-ending supply of energy. That was why they chose this arena. For Baki, he would square up as he went face-to-face against Creel in the center of the ring. For Creel, he was experienced as a boxer, while Baki, he had multiple forms of martial arts, from Muay Thai to boxing, Taekwondo, and even kickboxing. For Baki, he was more nimble on his feet, throwing in some kicks and some well-placed strikes against Creel and landing some devastating body blows. However, the older fighter was able to take it before launching into his counter-strike. He feinted an attack from Baki to the left as he went in for a body shot to Baki's ribs. The boxer was aiming to try to take off Baki's platform. No matter how big Baki got in his bulking Hulk form, in the end, every monster needed to breathe. And you can't breathe when you have fractured and broken ribs, punctured and bruised lungs, a liver that's been swollen all to hell. And for Baki, all he did was become a bigger target. The crowd would continue to roar on as the main event of the fight got underway. Baki, now transformed into his Hulk-like state, big, mean, and green, would grab hold of the waist side of Creel as he lifted him up for a German suplex, slamming him on the head top back into the metal floor beneath them. Creel was able to overpower, though, and not only that, was able to mush Baki in the face as he slammed him directly into the ground. This fight, it was quickly turning into a battle of the behemoths, and Zax, just as it got back to full strength, would be taken once more by Creel as he absorbed more power from the power plant. He was going to overwhelm Baki with force that he had never seen before. For as strong as Baki was he strong enough to take the power of an entire city? Hell, if Creel really put his mind to it, maybe he could absorb the power line of the entire countryside. There was no way Baki could stand up to that. As far as how he had managed to control Zax, it wasn't as difficult as you might think. Yes, Zax was a monster and a true freak of nature, but in the end, it had basic comprehension. Zax was able to understand that whenever there was someone stronger than him, it knew better to submit. That was how Yujiro had managed to bring him in, and Creel took a similar approach. But it was more in a teaching way. Whenever Zax did as it was told, Creel would treat him kindly. But when he didn't, that was when the rod came in. Or as he would like to use, the ball and chain. For Zax, Creel had managed to do something that you would think was impossible. He instilled fear into a monster, and now he was using it for its own means. And for Baki, he was feeling the full brunt of the force behind those strikes, as Creel would go swinging around his metal ball and chain, enhanced with the power of Zax, each strike feeling like Baki was getting hit with the full might of thunder and lightning behind it. Baki's body would be shot with stacked streaks of lightning, the metal ball continuing to slam into his chest, his body and arms over and over, before Creel would take the chain, wrapping it around Baki's neck and attempting to choke the absolute life out of him. Baki was just barely able to use his power, as he was able to fight free of the restraint and kick him away. For the people watching on, they could see now that Baki was on the defensive, as Creel would mix in his dirty street tactics along with that of his skills as a pro boxer. For Baki, he was now starting to see that the age of experience could truly trump that of youth, as Creel was able to land decisive and countered strikes against what the Hulk was able to bring out. As the fight would continue on, Baki could feel himself starting to slip. Normally, he was able to keep things calm and cool and collected, but as the fight dragged on, that was where Baki's advantage came in. You see, Baki, he had anger issues. Even if he wouldn't admit it, there was a rage that was inside of him. The only reason why he never let it go out of control was because he knew that there were consequences. To be honest, he would never forget that day. That day when he saw what his anger could truly do. The day that he vowed to gain control over himself. He was at school, of course, and under normal circumstances, no one could bother him. Even when a gang of children would try to attack Baki, he was always able to come out on top. But on this day in particular, Baki, he didn't want to be bothered. So many times, people came looking for a fight. Gangsters, people looking to test their mettle, everyone in between. And Baki just got sick of it. It was like they had nothing better to do with their lives except challenge him. But finally, they took it a step too far. It was around the time when he first met Kozu, his freshman year. They had been talking for a while, and Baki was starting to develop feelings. Feelings that he wanted to explore and take serious. For Kozu, she felt the same, but unfortunately, there were those who had noticed this. They thought they had found a weakness of Baki's. So you can imagine how Baki felt when he found the girl that he was pining for was being held hostage. And even worse, when one of them had made the misfortunate step of striking her. When Baki saw this, he snapped. He can't even remember what happened next, but when he finally came to his senses, the school was completely destroyed. Those bullies, they weren't dead, but whatever they were, they probably wish they were dead. Even for Kozu, the way she looked at him, what she saw. Baki could see the destruction that he had caused all around them, and from that day forth, he vowed to get his anger under control, to suppress his rage, but keep the power. It wasn't easy. It was a long trial and error. But eventually he came to a point where he could transform at will. Of course, this meant that Baki was never going to be at his full strength, because he always kept his anger locked inside. So much so that it became like a mental construct in his own mind. The inner Baki that was left stuck in a cage of his own hatred that he could not escape. For Baki, he could only reach that point if he truly gave in and felt that there was no other choice. This inner Baki. But to say all that now, it was to say that Baki could feel that inner rage slowly creeping up inside of him. He could feel it wrapping itself around his heart. Why are you allowing him to do this to you? He's weak. You should be able to destroy him with a single strike. But no. Instead, you keep me locked up. That's where you belong. No, I belong on the battlefield. You know it as well as I. I am the part of you that you tried to deny to yourself. And how long is that going to work out for you? You can't accept that you and I are one. You and I are the same. You can't exist without me. I am your strength. You're nothing but a crutch. I am the reality that you reject. Do you not understand who you're dealing with? Yujiro Hanma only cares about one thing, and that's himself. Do you think there's not a level he won't stoop? Do you think there's a line he won't cross? Damn it, Baki! He killed your mother! He crushed her in front of you. On top of that, he dropped her corpse on top of your mangled, broken, and bloody body. And then he left. Do you know how disrespectful that is? And he didn't even care. He killed your mother, and you still couldn't bring me out. Maybe if you did, she'd still be alive. Or perhaps you didn't love her as much as you think. Shut up. Aw, does the truth hurt, Baki? You keep trying to deny who you are. You're a living contradiction. You claim that you just want an easy life, that you want a simple life. So why do you fight? Why do you continue to entertain this charade if you don't care? I know. It's because you do care. Because deep down in your heart of hearts, you want to know. From the day that you were born, you felt it. You became a force of nature, Baki. You are chaos incarnate. You are rage. You are destruction. You are a storm that can't be controlled, but yet you try to control me. You put me in a cage. You deny who you are, Baki. This has-been of a fighter is taking your life. He is choking you away. The only reason why you're standing in front of me is because you don't have the strength. And yet that brings you back to me. Why are you here, Baki? The inner Baki would ask. I don't know. I said, why are you here, Baki? I don't know. Why are you here, Baki? Why are you here? Because I want to win. Then do it. Do whatever it takes. There's no line that you shouldn't be able to cross. They started it. End it. They think you're weak. They think you're soft. They think you're pathetic. Then prove them wrong. Smash! Baki would break free of the chain that was around his neck. As Creel felt that Baki's power was now starting to grow, that it would soon surpass his own, he grabbed hold of the boy, putting him in a full Nelson, looking to absorb his power. Both would fall to a knee as Baki's gamma-irradiated energies would flow into Creel. As Creel began to take them, Baki would shrink and shrink and shrink until eventually he was back in his human form. For Creel, this power, this was it. This was the power that Yujiro had. This was how he beat him. For Zax, the monster was at its limit. It had been used over and over again, as Creel was now done with the creature. Creel had now turned green, with electrical sparks of energy flowing all around him. The power was intoxicating. It was exhilarating. He felt it continuing to fester and to grow. He felt like he was unstoppable. And then it hit him. His body would reject the power. That much gamma radiation didn't do too well for his inner being. The power, yes, but it was also toxic. And for as strong as he wasn't built to last against it. Eventually, Creel would have no choice but to disperse the energy lest he destroy himself. As he did so, he saw that he was now back in his own human form as well, and Baki was waiting for him. He might have turned back to normal, but his eyes still shimmered with that green. For Creel, he would immediately reach for the ball and chain, only for Baki to step on his hand and break it, shattering every bone into powder. For Creel, he let out a guttural scream. To see a grown man yell in such a way, it was quite unsettling. As Baki would take to landing a series of critical strikes against the beast of a man that was Carl Crusher Creel. The old fighter, now left without his power that had temporarily been tapped out, he found himself on the receiving end of a sound ass whooping. By the time it was all said and done, Creel lied on the ground defeated. As Baki turned, he saw that Zax was beginning to grow in strength. Without Carl to contain him, the electrical monster was now looking to engage in a full fury of its power. But Baki would grab hold of the creature as he wrapped his arms around it like a hug. There now, big guy. No need to get all worked up. Yeah, I know. But look, you're not supposed to exist. You came to life and you don't even know how. But I'll grant you peace. Baki would turn back into the Hulk as he crushed his arms around Zax, eventually causing the monster to pop and disperse. A large explosion of energy. An electrical shockwave would be sent all through the arena, causing the power plant to temporarily shut down. Power would be lost for a brief time before it regained, as Zax's body would be crushed and dispersed. As for Creel, he was left beaten and inebriated, but shortly after, some good old troops from the U.S. would arrive to pick him up, at least what was left of him. Along with that, there was a phone. It was given to Baki. As he picked it up, he received a call. Well, it's not every day that you get a call from the President of the United States himself, Mr. Ross. Yes, I had my men on standby just in case. I had the Japanese government informed of their presence. I hope you don't mind, but we'll be taking Creel back into custody. I see that you already made short work in picking up Rhino. Yes. Look, your father's created a mess for me. Releasing all of those people from the raft, I imagine it can't be a good thing. No, it's not. But you've managed to bring down 3 of them. By the way, what happened to Zax? I caused his power to be dispersed back into the natural order of things. He was a monster created by nature. I returned him to nature. I see. Well, you were able to give it peace, and that's one less headache that I have to deal with. That still leaves two more. The leader and the Wendigo. Yes. But what about the other 8? What are you doing about them? They've all gone off to different places. Of course, I'm sure that there are certain ones that are going to be dealt with sooner rather than later. But for now, all I can do is keep my eyes open. Look, technically I have no reason to ask this of you. But I have to know. Do you really think you can bring him down? You talking about my father? Who else? Before Baki even had a chance to answer, the phone would be hacked, as a new voice would speak. So, are you finally done playing with those Neanderthals? With those lugged, meathead, and mindless brutes? Don't you want something a little more stimulating? Something that you can't just punch and smash your way through? And who's this? You simply need to know me as the leader, Baki. Yes, I am one of the many minds that your father sprang from the raft. And I have to say, at first, I was a bit repulsed at the idea that he would put me in a mere gambit of individuals to face you. But after seeing everything for myself, I now realize he sent me here to educate. Yes, educate, Baki. After all, you are a young man with a mind that is still growing, that can still be molded. I need you to stop thinking with only your fist and start thinking with that mind, as small as it might be. I know where this is going, and I'm guessing you're the one that's going to teach me. But of course, Baki, of course. I'm going to teach you that it's futile to fight against your leader. No. What I have cooked up for you, Baki, I want to do something that will truly be for those of a higher calling, those of a higher understanding, of a higher way. And is this going to be the part where you prowl on and on and on, or are you just going to get to it? Baki would say. Well, they do say that patience is a virtue, one that I will have you cultivate very well. But I will give you time to reprieve yourself from your victory. But know this, that when the time comes, you will be pushed in a way that you have never been pushed before. And you will thank me, Baki. Oh, wow. Then what you have must really be important. Oh, it is. You see, we all will win. You will gain a valuable life lesson that, if you survive, you can carry for the rest of your life. And I'll be taking that championship. I'll keep in touch. Hulk. With that, the phone would grow silent, as now Baki was given a microphone in the middle of the arena after that climactic end of a battle. First off, Baki, I want to say congratulations. Your second title defense. Not only your second title defense, but you're now halfway through the gauntlet. 3 down, only 3 more to go. The people want to know, who was on the phone with you and what's next? Yeah. People want to know who was on the phone with me. That was our good friend, the leader, Baki would say. He was just calling to congratulate me on my victory, but more so, he just wanted to throw out more idle threats. Personally, it really doesn't make a difference what anyone says. It's not going to change the outcome. I told you all from the very beginning how this is going to go. What I plan to do is going to revolutionize the Meta-Human Federation, this whole sport as you know it. I am going to flip it on its head. But in order to do that, I gotta get through this gauntlet. So I already know who's coming for me. He's a guy who's got a big brain and a big ego. But the bigger the brain, the bigger the ego, the bigger the bruise is gonna be. Now, leader, you call yourself the leader. But tell me, who exactly are you trying to lead? But more importantly, who exactly are you trying to fool? Because the way I see it, you've got a big brain, you got a big ego. When everything's big up here, it tells me that maybe you're overcompensating for some things, huh? You call yourself the leader. Why? Because no one will follow you. And let me ask, who would want to follow a know-it-all such as yourself? Because if you're so smart, why were you trapped in the raft for well over 15 years? Why did it take my father busting you out of prison to escape? But don't worry. Don't worry, folks, because if you asked the leader, he would have told you that being in there for 15 years was all a part of his plan. The truth is, you're not a leader. You're a failure. You see, you're not as smart as you think you are. You're damn sure not stronger than me. So in the end, you come up with all these big brain schemes to overcompensate for your failure, for your lack in power, for your lack in balls. But it makes no difference. You can concoct anything you want, anything that big mind of yours can make up, but in the end, it's not going to matter because I'm going to smash through it. I'm gonna destroy it. Every scheme, every plan, every formula that you try to throw my way, it's only going to end in your failure. Because I'm on a warpath right now. I'm on a warpath and I can't be stopped for anyone or anything. And then there's my pops. Yujiro Hanma. I sure hope you've got some better competition than this. Because if you're just going to keep throwing trash at me, I gotta say, as the world champion of your company, I feel rather insulted. But you know what? I've been insulted for a long time now. I'm insulted by the way that this company is ran. I'm insulted by the way that you carry yourself. Quite frankly, I'm insulted that I have to share the same blood with this ugly son of a bitch. But I guess there's no fixing that. Well, not all of it. Let me make something perfectly clear to you, Dad. Yujiro Hanma. Nothing's changed. You and I will meet. I will destroy you. And I will become the most dangerous creature on the planet. Your time on the throne is running out. The sun is starting to set. And when the clock strikes, your time is up. But until then, get comfortable and enjoy the ride. And I'll see you when it's all said and done. Baki would flip the microphone into the air as he walked out of the arena. The people chanting the name of their champion, Baki Hanma, the Immortal Hulk, your current, reigning, and defending, undisputed Meta-Human Federation World Heavyweight Champion. And now it's time to get back to the gym, back to the drawing board, as the next opponent loomed on the horizon. This concludes Baki, the Immortal Grappler. What if Baki was the Hulk? Season 1, Part 5. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. And stay tuned tomorrow as we continue with Baki the Immortal Grappler, What If Baki Was the Hulk? Season 1, Part 6. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.